All right, guys, I've got a viewer tonight that's going to talk to us about a personal encounter that he had. And I spoke with him the other day, and out of all the people I speak with, he is one of the people that's very truthful, in my opinion, because, well, he just has a basic story, and everything that he's seen meets a lot of what I've seen and what I know. Uh, I want to go ahead and introduce him. His name's Tim. And Tim, if you want to, you can tell people where you're from, kind of the area and everything.
I'm from East Tennessee. I was born and raised in Hamlin County, Tennessee. I'm 54 years old. Been in this area my whole life, never lived anywhere else. And in Hamlin County is where my encounter happened back in 1978. The area that the encounter took place in is changed somewhat because of development and whatnot. But yeah, at the time the area was wooded and surrounded by woods.
So it had a kind of a places it could hide and move about.
Oh yeah, it had ways to go unnoticed. There was enough woods at the time. It could have went from one place to the next and not been noticed. I believe that the creature I seen, I believe that it was kind of just passing through because there was, in my opinion, not enough, say, environment, whatever, for it to actually live in, for it to support a creature like that or several creatures like that. I would imagine that he was just passing through.
Right, and you said you're kind of close to the Smoky Mountains.
I live about 30, 40 minutes from the Smoky Mountains. And about an hour from Passaic National Forest.
So you got some large mountains, hills, and timbers in that area for sure.
Oh yeah, and there's stories of Bigfoot, Dogman come out of all these places. I hear about them online. Right now, I am located in Jefferson County, Tennessee, and there's been over the years 2 Dogman sightings here, but those took place some time ago. There haven't been nothing recent. But my encounter was with a Bigfoot.
Right. But geographically, you could just about have an encounter with anything where you're at.
Like any time.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that's not going to happen.
We hope that's not the fact that's going to happen. So you was pretty young when you had your encounter, right? Approximately what, 9 years old?
Yeah, I was around 9 years old. Of course, it was a school night, and my parents always, and my dad especially, might just go to bed around 9 o'clock every night on school nights, and he was very adamant about that. And me and my oldest brother shared a bedroom, and we had bunk beds, and I slept on the top bunk, and the bunk beds were pushed right up against a window in the room. It was the only window in the room. There was really nowhere else for the bed to sit except for the window there, pushed up against the window.
You know, it's funny you say that, because whenever you told me that the other night when we talked, I had a bunk bed that I shared. And it was funny because we had one window in our room, and out of everywhere we could have put the bed, we put it next to the window. And I think that's just what everybody kind of done back then. But I was.
It would seem so, but.
I was kind of like you, though. I like to lay in bed and be able to look out and see the rain, the snow, the clouds, the moon, the stars. I was into that.
Yeah, I was too. On those nights that I didn't fall asleep, very quickly. You lay there, you get bored. You're a kid, so yeah. You want to lay there and just, like you said, gaze out, see what it's doing out there. And usually, there wasn't much going on for me. But this particular night, I was laying there in bed and could not go to sleep, and decided another time, like so many others, I was going to slide my curtain back there on the window and just gaze outside, look at the sky, just whatever a kid would do. And when I did that, there was a creature looking in the window at me. And at that time, I had no idea what it was that I was looking at. But now that I'm older, of course, I realized what it was that I seen, and turns out it was a Bigfoot. And I was telling you the other day, I do believe it was a juvenile, because the height, its height up on the window, its head was maybe about halfway, up the window. And I just didn't feel threatened at all by it. But with that being said, it did scare me very bad. And I kind of just hurled back in shock or whatever. Just, I guess it was a reflex,
Right.
kind of, so to speak. And in doing so, I come off that top bunk there and shattered my kneecap. It created a big noise, a big ruckus, and woke everybody up in the house. But
So you
I
could,
didn't tell in that house what I'd seen.
right. So you were physically hurt.
Yes, just from seeing the creature and jumping back, in shock, I guess, or in surprise. Now, once I hit the floor and got back up, now, if I'm remembering this correct, I was back up fairly quickly, even though I'd injured my knee before my parents had made it in the room. Well, my dad, more or less, and the creature was gone.
Right.
And at the time, I had no clue what a Bigfoot was. I was 9 years old. I've never heard of it. Didn't know there was such a thing.
Right.
But,
how would you say it reacted whenever you looked at it?
Well, Mike, like I told you the other day, I just don't feel like it reacted much at all.
Just kind of, it was maybe...
It was somber, like, like it was just curious of studying me, more or less, I guess. I think the word that would describe the way it was acting was curious.
Right. And I think that's what draws a lot of them to our houses and stuff, is the lights and, the commotion, the action, the smells, the dogs. And we also talked about you being in the suburbs, and the possibility that the animal was maybe in your area because there was maybe other animals that may have dog food out, or
and it might have just seen him and was curious.
Yeah, I did have neighbors that did have dogs. A lady across the street, now she had a bulldog, and like I was saying, I don't remember if that darn dog was barking or not, but some dogs don't bark. Some of them get scared and just kind of shut down. So
that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, my mom had a dog when she was younger, and the dog's name was Tippy, and the dog would beg to go outside to be with this creature, and whenever the dog did come back inside during thunderstorms, it would be bone dry, and the dog would have what would appear to be semen on the dog, and I took the Rottweiler down there, and I got the opposite reaction. It killed my dog, and yet it took care of her dog. So I think sometimes we can't necessarily depend on our dogs to alert us to it being around, because if they're comfortable with it, then
They're not going to make a ruckus about it.
you're not going to know until
Oh,
you're
yeah.
until you're looking out your window, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I was up in my mid 40s when I realized what I'd seen. So I went many, many years holding that in, not telling nobody. I didn't know what to tell anybody because I didn't know what to tell them I'd seen. The closest thing I could say, looks like anybody else, like a monkey or a chimpanzee, sort of. But with that being said, like a lot of other people say, there was a very human look to it.
Right.
Right.
It's very shocking. Very shocking.
Well, one of the things about your encounter that led me to also believe that you were telling the truth is we had a friend of the family, and he encountered also something at the back of my granny's house, and they begged him for over 50 years to tell them what he seen, and he wouldn't talk about it for 50 years. Well, as he was passing away, he wrote me a letter, which I read. It's in one of the videos. It's called like 50 Years Later or something like that. And, like what you done and what he done back, in the older days like that, not only did you not know what you seen, but maybe people were very judgmental on people that had seen things like that. And it was hard to talk about subjects like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have to tell you, Mike, it's still hard to talk about subjects like that. There's been a few people that I've approached with my story around in my area. Well, let's say I just try to initiate some type of conversation about strange goings on, and per se, the word Bigfoot comes to play in it. Most of the time, I get crazy looks. I've yet to find one person take me serious.
Right.
Now, I believe that my brothers that I've told, my two brothers that I've told, I feel like they believe me. I think one may be on the fence, but the other one, I think he really does believe me what happened. And the one on the fence, funny, is my oldest brother, the one that was in the bottom bunk bed when this happened to me. So he was there in the room when this happened to me, and when I hit that floor. So I don't know if he thinks. I think he thinks I was dreaming, but I know I was not dreaming. I hadn't even managed to get to sleep yet.
Right.
Right.
And didn't you say that even when you were kids, didn't you used to like play in the woods or something, ride something in the woods, or?
Oh yeah, there was on the outskirts of the neighborhood. There were woods, and me and my brothers would squirrel hunt in there. We had trails that we rode go-karts on. We would build our own go-karts and race. Man, we just had a big time.
Right.
And like you were saying the other day, that creature may have been watching us all along. And who knows? Maybe it had its eye just on me. Seems like they're really known just to pick out someone, a certain individual, and latch on
They do.
for whatever reason. A child,
Yes.
Yeah.
just I guess maybe curious, but after our conversation the other day, I feel like that maybe it's just not always curiosity. Some of the stories you told me kind of really got me to thinking that that some kids could be on one of these things food chain.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
My people, the Cherokees and the Navajo, the Delaware, they all had names for them. But the one thing that they all pretty much agreed on is they were children eaters. and they were cannibalistic. And to call them cannibalistic, they would have had to have had enough human traits to look like us to be called cannibalistic. I think that for some reason, and I don't know why, but I believe they either imprint on certain people, follow certain people.
Have an interest in certain people.
There's just something that lures them. And, you know, I would even say to this day, if you were to go to the woods, that it would still remember you and you would probably still have trouble. That has been the case with my mom and other people that I know that have had encounters as young children. They're still having them today, and these people are in their 50s and 60s. And I know them personally, and it still happens to them. It it's like they latch onto you. It's kind of like I don't know. It's like it's
obsession,
a for life friendship you didn't want.
Well, if it's a juvenile, maybe it's, you know, never seen them before and has like a interest in
Yeah,
little
usually
kids.
that does happen. The attachment thing, but for whatever reason, I don't think that took place with me because, you know, I was back in those woods sometime later. Like I had said to you, it was quite some time before I actually went back out there and into the woods. But like I said, I don't think that the area could have supported a creature of that size.
They were just passing through.
Yeah, just passing through. Now, and again, being imprinted on, fortunately, I feel like that didn't happen to me because I have been camping in a lot of remote areas, and you know, I've never had no uneasy feelings, no suspicion, anything. As an adult, I've not had any type of encounter.
Right. And what got me is, I want you to tell everybody how his eyes looked. I like how you described its eyes. That was one of the things that really caught me.
Well, you know, its eyes were so brown they were almost dark. And I don't know if I said this the other day, but, you know, it's almost like you were looking in human eyes, and they were a lot of white around the pupil.
Right.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, they were almost black looking. Of course, you hear other people saying that, and then you hear all kinds of stories, Bigfoot's having. I've even heard blue eyes. You know, I don't know what people are seeing, but what I've seen just had really dark brown eyes, almost black. Now, if it had been daylight, you know, they might have looked a little more brown.
Right.
But being at night, they did appear, I would say, more black. So therefore, that white around those eyes really stood out to me.
Kind of like the old saying, "Don't shoot till you see the whites of their eyes," huh?
Yeah. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, when I say the creature didn't respond to me, maybe it froze.
Maybe. It might have been just as surprised as you was. But also, you said, like,
really,
like, not a lot of hair on the face, right?
No, no, absolutely none. Of course, around the eyes and nose. Not very much on the upper lip either. So, you know, mostly framing out the face.
Right.
The hair. And again, the hair looks almost black. Is maybe brown in daylight. It's hard to say when it's dark like that. And also, the hair on its face was maybe just a couple of inches long, maybe 2-3 inches, from what I can remember. And I didn't see the creature below the shoulders.
Right.
Okay.
I just seen the head, basically. Uh, you know,
Just kind of like somebody was to walk up and try to look in your window. Just
yes, exactly. So when you, man, even if you opened your curtain up and there was a person standing there, that would freak you out.
oh,
Oh yeah.
I'd be putting a new
Much
window in.
less some kind of well, at my age, I would consider it a monster.
Right.
Right.
I mean, that's like one of my fears is looking out the window and seeing something look back in at me.
I'd be
And
terrified.
you know, I think the reason I enjoyed what you've seen and everything is it kind of goes along with letting parents know that your kids, just because you live in the suburbs or it's not a creek at your backyard and you're not killing rattlesnakes every day, doesn't mean these things are not right outside your front door at night.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, I lived on that property for almost 13 years and didn't see the first snake.
Right. And
And,
they just, and 1 minute your kid's there, the next minute they're gone. And like an area you're in, a suburban area, if they come up and they snatch a kid, then they have that tree line, I call it an expressway for them, that they escape down. And by the time you call police, the police arrive and everything, the police do not look at a child missing as it's with something that's moving, say, just a reference, 30 miles an hour, say, through the woods. They're looking at how fast such and such kid at such and such age can move, and that's how the perimeter of the search line is set. So if you got a young kid, say 9 years old, they're going to say, okay, that kid's not going to travel over, say, 7 miles in 15 minutes. But lo and behold, this creature is already down in the Smoky Mountains, headed up the mountain with you.
Oh yeah, and from what you hear, they move very, very fast. Some people say they almost look like they're floating.
I've heard that a
Yeah.
lot. My mom had a lot of first-hand encounters, and she said the speed that these things move it's unreal.
It's insane.
Barbed wire fences, 5, 6 strand fences, and they just go over them like hurdles.
I'll tell you what, I got a neighbor just moved in here about, let's say, 2 months ago, and my brother was telling him about, me being into the Bigfoot thing, just, having interest in it. And he marched his butt right up here and told me that when he was 16, him and one of his friends seen a Bigfoot in Indiana. Said they were hunting and walked right up on it. And the most odd thing took place, in my opinion. He said that creature, the Bigfoot, looked straight at their gun. He knew what the gun was, and he put his hands up like he was surrendering and turned around and walked off.
I'm sure they know. I believe they know what they are. I really do.
Yeah.
And I believe the guy, because, man, he's all jacked up when he's telling you the story.
Yeah, you can tell by how somebody acts. Because you
Yeah.
can tell, because it brings back memories that they're,
What happened in that moment?
it scares them.
Yeah, there's some excitement to it. Some really good, some excitement to it. And, man, I go back and forth with this, but as an adult, there is a huge part of me that would like to see another Bigfoot, of course, at a distance. But then, as an adult, could I really handle that?
Right.
I'm not spooked anymore about what happened to me as a kid. I find it more or less fascinating right now
Right.
that these things are really out there.
Right.
And most people just don't get it.
Yeah.
A lot of people just don't get it. I think a lot more people are coming around now, probably because, like me and you were talking about the other day, because the internet, phones,
Yes.
whatnot, more people are coming around to it. But around here where I grew up, it's a fairly small place. people are still pretty close-minded to it.
Right.
Well, in my county now, every year they have a Bigfoot conference up in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and I try not to miss that. It's pretty interesting.
I bet.
Oh, I bet.
I've met Bobo and
Oh, that's cool.
what is it, Cliff Barack?
Yeah,
Barack, I
Cliff.
can't say his name.
Cliff and Matt Moneymaker.
Yeah, I've met a few of them, and Scott Carpenter.
Oh yeah.
Man, I couldn't get him talking to me, so I had to corner him coming out of the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
I think he didn't know what to think, but I was trying to talk to him about my experience, because I've really never talked to anybody that were interested in that topic, or who researched the topic, and so that's one of the reasons I reached out to you. I've had a few other channels there on YouTube show some interest in my story. I haven't followed through with any of them. Not to say I think bad of them or anything. I just like what you do there, Mike, on your channel. I think people deserve to know the truth about what's really out there. And I do think that it's something to be concerned to worry about.
I agree with you 100%, and I sure appreciate that also. That means a lot to me. I just want to give people a chance to tell their stories without being judged or ridiculed. That's the one thing I said on my channel would never be tolerated, that we all have a voice, we all have an opinion. I don't see anything wrong with, spirited debate, but when it comes to name calling and defamating,
that's not.
Then that's just not going to be tolerated here. We can't learn like that. If they want to be closed-minded, then there's other groups that are closed-minded that they can go join, but this ain't the place for them.
Nope, we all have a voice.
But Tim, I'm going to give you the floor. I'm going to let you say whatever you'd like to say to the viewers, and whatever you think they might need to know, or whatever you want to tell them, or whatever. If you don't have anything, just tell me. But I want to give you the chance to be able to get anything off your chest that you want to say.
Well, I guess what I'd say anything is for those non-believers that's listening. I guess if you had seen what I'd seen, you'd be a believer. I understand that sometimes seeing is believing, but sometimes that's where faith comes in, and you got to believe in what you don't see. And there's just too many incidents out there going on, too many sightings. I know some are hoaxes, but some are not. There's a lot that's not. And surely my story's not a hoax. So just be really careful, and when you're out and about, just be aware at all times, and like Mike says, keep your head on a swivel.
Yeah. Hey, I want to thank you, Tim, for coming on, because
we appreciate it.
It takes a lot of courage for people to tell their stories, and not only just to tell their stories, but to come on to the internet and social media and face people, because not all comments are nice. I go through it every day, the emails and everything, and it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot to get through the nervousness to do it and everything. And I just want to tell you that I'm proud of you for telling your story, and I think you're a really strong person. I think you're a credible person, and I'm proud to be able to air your story.
I appreciate that, Mike, and I'm glad that you're the one I ended up sharing it to, and you're the one that's putting it out there for the world to hear, because, until tonight, there's probably a handful of people that know about my encounter. So here we go.
Here we go.